Welcome to Beyond Birth Trauma, From Burden to Brilliance, where we uncover the powerful truth about your beginnings and how they've shaped your entire life. I'm Shannon O'Flaherty, and in this show, we are not just exploring your birth, we are dismantling the chains of generational trauma. We're diving into the core of who you are, peeling back layers of inherited beliefs and behaviors that have held you back for far too long. This isn't just about understanding your past. It is about reclaiming your future. Get ready to break free. This is Beyond Birth Trauma, From Burden to Brilliance, and your transformation starts now. Hi, Shannon O'Flaherty here, and welcome back to Beyond Birth Trauma, From Burden to Brilliance. I'm so excited because today I have Sophie Kirkham with me, a birthing doula, and she's going to talk about the healing, the vital cycles of birth, and the impact of separation, which every single one of us has been through. And we're going to delve into her own journey of birthing and healing, an ongoing generational journey and experience. And we're also going to experience an embraining technique for centering, which is later on. So, the end of the show, don't worry about that. And Sophie's practice extends beyond the birthing room. As a certified MBIT master coach and NLP practitioner, she weaves together ancient wisdom and modern techniques to empower women on their journey of self-discovery. She believes that every woman holds within her the seeds of her own healing and is dedicated to nurturing those seeds into full bloom. Sophie is more than just a birth keeper, more than just a coach. She is a weaver of stories, a guardian of the sacred feminine, a midwife of the soul, and her work is a testament to the enduring power of love, the transformative magic of birth, and the infinite wisdom that resides within every single woman. Welcome, Sophie. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. Heart swelling pride. Thank you very much. And what a gorgeous introduction. Listen,
well,
Shannon,
you're a
it's great to be here.
gorgeous woman, and I'm sure that you're such a calming influence to all of the women that you're help birthing. So
Yeah.
why don't we just jump right on in there, Sophie, and why don't you tell us about your own personal birth experience, about you, the baby being
Yeah.
born, and
Me, the
then
baby,
and
and
then
then maybe
and
my
then move
journey to
on.
motherhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move on into why you've become a doula and how all of that process happened, how you got to this perfect place now.
Oh, wow. A lifelong learning journey. So um my journey is that I had a very difficult time coming into the world. My mum somehow managed to birth me against lots of odds. She had a very narrow birth path, something called an android pelvis, quite unusual.
Mm.
And I was a forehead presentation because I was trying to get out. Babies should sort of try and come out at the back of the head, the occipital bit coming out. And so when I was born, I had kind of bruising across my eyes and my nose. And Mum says I was still the most beautiful baby, but
Of course.
uh, but it was really tough. And as I understand it, when I was born, the first thing that happened was they held me upside down by my ankles and hit me until I screamed.
And why do you think, do they still do that? I mean, that's like something you
No,
from the
no.
past.
And if someone tried to do that to my freshborn, I would do the same to them. So
You know,
it's very peculiar what we accept. And when you step back and you look at it and you review it and you feel into it, you're like,
that
wow.
was originally created because they wanted to get the baby breathing, right? But I
Yeah,
mean, there's
maybe a
nice
farmer
way.
does it with a calf or a lamb. But
Okay,
so no, we don't do that now. Midwives serve
I'm glad to
week-long
hear.
training to resuscitate a baby, or yeah. So I think I was just very tired, and my mum was too. And I think it really did impact on our connection, because when my brother came along, he got into an impossible birthing position. Like medical people would call it a position that was incompatible with vaginal birth. So he was like upright. He had a foot up by his head and one down in the cervix. He's like entwined in a sari of an umbilical cord. There's no way he could have been birthed vaginally. And mum had a cesarean, and they had a very different relationship. And second time round, it's always different because you're a mother then.
Well, it is. Why do you think, and maybe you don't know, I don't know, but why do you think that babies get in these strange positions inside? And I always think it's a miracle that babies kind of know to turn and go head down
Mm.
and do the whole thing. So why
How
does
much?
that always happen?
Why does that happen? Loads of reasons, I guess. Sometimes it's the way your muscles are. There's more
Right.
give somewhere than in another place. If your
Hmm.
psoas muscles, these huge straps that come from your spine all the way down into your groins, if they're really, really tight,
Hmm.
then the womb, I don't know, maybe is a little bit wonky one way and not the other. Check out
Hmm.
spinning babies if you need to learn more on that.
Inning babies, did you say?
Spinning babies
And
and
like how
spray
to
your
move baby.
midwife,
Yeah, yeah.
spinningbabies.com. Um,
Spinning babies.
I actually have 3 kids. So I've had 9 pregnancies and I've got 3 babies. So there's a whole lot of stuff. And which is how I met you, because we did some shamanic healing together and we
That's
needed
right.
to do that.
Yeah.
And it was, I highly recommend one of Shannon's retreats. It's amazing.
Mm.
Um, what I was going to say was that my third baby, Beatrice, she was head down, head down. And then at 39.5 weeks, her big sister, who was about 20 months old, had a massive meltdown, emotional overload. And she was scrabbling like an octopus. And I was holding on to her, and she just stood down the bump. And the next day, it felt like baby Beatrice, who we'd nicknamed Lightning, who she is like a bolt of lightning, she'd recoiled. I feel like she recoiled. She was like, I am not
As if
coming
something
out
hit you.
there.
Yeah, you recoil, don't
Yeah,
you? Right.
like, whoa, no, I'm not doing this. And I was really upset because there's a lot going on when you've got, I mean, my son, there's 8 years gap between my son and my daughter. So it felt almost like having a baby and then another one coming again when I had the third. There's a real separation that happens again because you think, oh my goodness, you're not my baby anymore. I've got to make room for another baby. And there's
Oh,
a
I know
grieving.
that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember second pregnancy crying all the way to the hospital because nothing was wrong, perfect pregnancies. But I felt like, how can I possibly have enough love
Mm.
for another baby? Because you love your first baby more than God. You know, it's like I don't have enough love in my body to love two babies. And then when Rome was born and Forrest came in, my 2-year-old looked like a giant. And I was like,
Yes.
I can't believe this is my baby. You know, it's really weird. The whole thing that goes
Like,
on for the mother, but also for those babies, because it's a dance, right?
it's a real dance. I had a doula sister come over and help me. She massaged me and she wrapped me in cloths, and I had a good cry. And I told my baby, your sister's lovely. She's going to love you. It's okay. It's okay. And there are
Wow.
still moments when she stoofs both legs down her, metaphorically speaking. You know, there are still those moments in a relationship between sisters.
Hmm.
Um, that,
Can
yeah. Can we? I was just wanted to talk about how I got into birth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I want to
because
just track back real quickly about, because you mentioned that because you were forehead first and all bruised, and your mother and you were both exhausted, and the smacking thing to breathe, and then your son being born by C-section.
oh, that
Can
was my
you,
brother. That was my brother.
sorry, your
My
brother,
younger brother.
can you kind of identify what the difference in your relationship with your mother, what was there an obvious thing?
I think it impacted on us bonding. And I remember hearing somebody else's metaphor about this a long time ago when I first trained in sort of birth preparation. And she talked about there being glue on the baby, glue on the mum when they're born, and they can stick together. And that it doesn't matter, like it can happen over a lifetime. So some people, I'm going to jump ahead and we're going to talk about the bond before the
We'll
commercial
get
break.
there. Yeah.
We'll get there.
However, this is like how girls talk.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
Bond,
We'll get
a
on
lot of
to
parents expect, so women, dads, they expect this instantaneous bond. And
Mhm.
yes, you've developed a relationship with this child growing within you. And yes, it sometimes feels like sort of the most alien thing in the world that you've got two brains, two hearts, and all of that happening. And then when the baby arrives, you love them and you are flooded with oxytocin, the love hormone, which makes you incredibly trusting, which makes you want to interact and build connection and to love deeply. And your brain is totally saturated with it. So it's really important to make sure that you've got your birth preferences so you don't get waylaid and say yes to something that you would definitely have said no to.
Mhm.
And I I think sometimes the bonding, this like tidal wave of love hits you later. Okay, so for me, it was when my firstborn, Freddie, when he was 10 weeks old, I was sat in a chair, I was looking at him and I was talking to him and I was like, what color are your eyes going to be? Are they going to be brown? Are they going to be green? What? I just couldn't tell. And even to this day, it's an uncertain color. It changes with the
Oh,
season.
interesting.
And yeah, they're brown, they're hazel, they're gray, they're green, they're beautiful. And then all of a sudden, there was the most tremendous feeling of love that just engulfed me and every cell, every fiber of me and him. And that's when I knew that bond was there. And that was 10 weeks in.
10
And
weeks in. Okay,
yeah,
that's really important. So all of you in the viewing and listening audience, especially if you're pregnant now and if it's your first baby, or if you've had a baby and felt guilty because you hear a lot of other mothers saying, "Oh, I'm madly in love with my baby right away." Like I was, because it's all I ever wanted to do was, it's amazing. I don't have 12 kids, but yeah, two against two. I thought that was more than enough. Oh, but yeah, so you're bonding, that will happen in its own natural divine time. So
yes,
take yourself off the hook for that one. We're
yeah.
going through a whole lot during the
Yeah, and it's a
season of birth.
distinction. You know, I loved him, I adored him, I wanted to meet his
Course.
needs, I wanted to care for him and feed him and protect him. All of that was there. This is something else. This was like there was something that connects us. And like I told you another time, it's like it's elastic. He could be on a different continent and we're still connected. As he grows older, it's 15, it thins and it's less intense, but it's there. It's always there. And
It's really interesting, that bond and that connection, because I mean, my sons are in their 30s now, but I remember a few years back, Rome had a very bad bicycle accident. And when I heard about the crash, like, I had like a zap of pain all the way through me. Like I could actually feel his pain, not for constantly, but like this moment. And it's really strange. And if they're suffering, my heart aches for them, like palpably, like in a physical way.
physical
Yeah.
way.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's a connection to be made at birth. Like we're designed to be mum with baby straight away, still covered in gloop. It's meant to happen. You're meant to seed your baby's microbiome with your microbiome, skin to skin. Your oxytocin system will regulate your temperature so that the temperature of your chest, and this is the same for men and women, both have an oxytocin system. Anything with nipples, any mammal has an oxytocin system. Your core temperature will adjust by half a degree up, down, whatever it needs to be the perfect temperature for that baby.
Wow. I didn't
So
know that.
you're better than an incubator in that regard. And to have
Okay.
that connection and just to catch your breath after you've given birth without a baby being taken anywhere. And now we know more and more and more about how essential that is. We've always known, women have always known, because it feels right.
Yes. Wow, that's really fascinating because all 10 pounds of me came out, and then I was taken away from my mother and put in an incubator.
Oh
So,
dear.
and I've always suffered with being super uber cold. And when I found out that that happened, it kind of somehow explained something to me in myself that I didn't have that skin to skin
Okay.
contact going on.
Yes.
So, so you're falling in love with your 10-week-old baby. And was this the turning point for you?
No, that was day one. So I'd done hypnobirthing because I realized I couldn't go through what mum went through. I had to break the cycle.
Right.
I knew it had impacted us on a deep level, not a conscious level. I just knew, like, she went through a really bad time. She shouldn't have had to suffer that way. And I didn't want that for my baby. And so I was chatting to my mate. She'd been and had hypnotherapy for her fear of dentists. And she said, try it. I picked up a book on hypnobirthing and I was rolling my eyes because I was like, this sounds like, but I had money. I could afford the book. I bought it. And then on chapter 3, I'm sold. I want to do this. This is how I want to prepare for my baby. I want to change the way you think about birth, and the way you birth will change. And that was the mantra. And I did a class with a midwife. So in the UK, every woman has midwifery care. You
That's
only
right.
see a doctor if you have a medical problem. Whereas
Wow.
in the States, in the US and Canada and
Medic-
North America, you still have states where midwifery is illegal.
What?
Yeah. So
Oh,
midwives
I really didn't know
operate
that.
under
Wow.
the radar. And you end up
Wow.
with people who are kind of sovereign people who might use a midwife because they don't have access to one. You'll have a maternity nurse instead of a midwife. Midwifery is a beautiful art of caring for women. So anyway, I birthed Fred. I stayed in overnight, and there were 3 other women on the ward with me, and all 3 of them had not had good births. And when I birthed Fred, it was very intense. But I was so happy. I was so happy because when he was born, he didn't cry.
Wow.
He was
Can we? I'm sorry,
fine.
that's like a really hooked climatic place to take a break,
Mm.
but we're going to just
And
take a
on
short
that
commercial break.
bombshell,
We're going
let's
to
go
keep
to
you
the
all
break.
hooked. Let's find out what happens next. So take the short commercial break and we'll come back and we'll finish the story and we'll talk a little bit more about separation of mother and baby at birth. See you very soon. Hi, welcome back. Shannon O'Flaherty here, and I'm talking to the lovely doula, Sophie Kirkham. And we left you at the height of Sophie's birth with her son.
Yeah.
So before you continue that, and I know everybody's waiting in suspense, tell us how everybody can reach you. Give us your
Okay.
details.
So the languageofchange.com.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Okay.
Thelanguageofchange.com.
Yeah.
And your email?
Language. Actually, do you know what? It's languageofchange.com. Drop the. That's the that's the Scouse Liverpudlian. We call everything the. And I'm at Calm Sophie on Instagram
Say
and
that again.
at Calm Sophie.
Calm, like
Yeah.
CALM. Yeah, at Calm
Calm
Sophie. Okay.
And
Language
it's
of love.
languageofchange .com, and on TikTok, language of change. Yeah. Uh,
Okay, that's great. And
if,
you guys can find me at shannonoflaherty.com or shannonbtb.com. Uh, so, baby, let's
mm,
go.
my first baby, I wanted him so much. I'd waited a long time for him, and I birthed him at a big hospital in London on the river, St. Thomas's Hospital, which is on the south of the river, and on the north bank is the Houses of Parliament. It's an amazing view. I had my eyes closed. Apparently there was a thunderstorm I didn't even know, and there was a rainbow. Don't know, didn't know anything about that. And I visualized a peony, never ending opening of a peony. And I had strange experiences where, like, I was naked on a bed, not on my back, because that's not how to give birth, on all fours. And I can remember turning and seeing a guy with a ladder and a long strip light bulb coming to replace it and being very confused. And then I can remember Freddie's dad being like, right, anybody who doesn't need to be in here, please leave.
Mhm.
Freddie was born at 3:05 in the afternoon. I'd gone into labor in the morning, and the last half an hour was incredibly intense and powerful. I knew it was coming. There's like wild horses isn't going to stop this. There's nothing I can do. It was expulsive. There was no forced pushing. My body, my womb was squeezing and pushing and expelling him.
Isn't that amazing that your body knows what to do? I remember just thinking like, this is so cool. I've never done this before, and yet I know what to do. It's so neat.
It's there. The programming is there. And when he came out, and my midwife passed him through my legs to me so I could hold him and look at him. And then there's just like a little purple Buddha, because they're never pink straight away. You know, they sort of pink up, don't they? And he sort of squinted his eyes open. And I think he went, ah, I'm here again. I think that's what I think he was like, ah, Earth again.
Now, by this time, were you already aware that you were going to go into this line of work?
No. I'd been made redundant in the pregnancy that with Freddie, when I was growing Freddie. And this was the revelation, sitting in my hospital bed, um, the night after, the morning after, and seeing these three other women on the ward. One never even picked her baby up. She'd had such an ordeal. She was so exhausted. And so the separation there was quite alarming. Of course, the midwives came and held the baby and looked after the baby, but the mum herself, mm-mm.
Not
And
there
that's,
yet. Yeah.
I remember thinking, I don't know what happened to you, but it doesn't have to be like this.
No, I mean, this is the perfect opportunity to break the chains of whatever went before, like
Yeah,
sort it out, you know? Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how a baby's born, to quote a really good midwife friend of mine, Michaela, whether it's out of the sunroof or the cat flap, can be it can be gentle. You can have a gentle cesarean belly birth. You can
Hmm.
still have skin to skin. It can be slow. And it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be that you treat the baby like a blob with no feelings and no sensation. Um, and I think we have to keep a keen eye out for that. Um, as a birth keeper, as an advocate for women in their labor, in their birthing, in the immediate post-birth bit, while you're still waiting to birth the placenta, whether she needs to have some fine stitches done, any of that, getting the baby on the breast, all of that work. I find that I've always felt like quite a guardian of the space.
Hmm.
I've tried to be as respectful of medical caregivers as possible. I've never met anybody really terrible. No, that's a lie. That guy, oh my goodness. In fact, he went to the States. Oh, I'm so sorry. He went to the US from here. He's awful. And
They do
and what
exist.
they do
I would
exist.
suggest like asking for a different person. If you've got somebody in there that's causing you stress, ask for somebody else because it is a really sacred time. I mean, I was just so blessed. I had water births for both of my kids, and they were both idyllic, different sort of situations, but really, yeah, I felt like I wanted to really change the way because I had a rough entry into the world, and my kids just smooth as silk. So. And
It,
so
yeah.
talk
I,
about being
I
the
I wanted
doula,
to
the physical
being a
separation.
doula and the physical. Do you mean like so the separation that can happen sometimes? Um, it's really impactful. Like there's a real sort of thing about dads having skin to skin with the baby as soon as possible. And actually, I feel like Yeah. And if that's what the mum wants, if she's
And
okay with it.
so there's a hesitation there in you. Why don't you
Yeah.
explain that?
Because that was my experience with Freddie. I can remember that whilst I was birthing the placenta, they gave Freddie to his dad, and all I could think was, I want to have him back. I want my baby back. I want my baby back.
Yeah.
And I think the placenta would have been birthed absolutely fine, me just on the bed holding him. But more than that, um, if a baby has to go away to intensive care and a mother's left without her baby there, we have to acknowledge it's awful. It's not what you anticipated,
I mean,
unless
that
you,
baby's part of you for 10
yeah.
months, really. And
Mm.
yeah, it's a huge thing. It's a big process. It's a dance between mother and child. I actually
Yeah.
read somewhere in a book, and I don't know if this is true, but it said like the father, unless he is the prime caretaker, really doesn't
Oh,
matter that
this
much
would be
until they're about 2 years old or
this would
something. I
be
don't know.
Michel Audin, probably. He's a
Oh,
French
you know who?
obstetrician who felt that there shouldn't be men in the birthing space at all. I don't think that's fair. I couldn't
I
have
don't
birthed
think
kids
that's
without my
fair.
husband there.
No, I was
Oh
really
my
happy
God.
that Bobby Baby was there and got to be part of all of that. Yeah, I wanted him there.
I wanted
Absolutely.
him there. I couldn't have done it without him, and I needed
Mhm.
his help
Me,
and
me too.
his
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
and he was amazing.
But in
Um,
terms that skin to skin contact thing, you think that that should be driven by the mother because we've just had this huge experience. The baby's still getting all of that oxytocin stuff, the temperature
yeah,
thing, which was a really
yeah.
cool bit of
And
knowledge there.
you're smelling them. You're like I can remember Fred's head was like here, and I just wanted to lick it.
Oh God, I know.
It was instinct. It was very mammalian. And you're still coming back to a full sense of awareness. And well, you still can't fully, can you? Because you're so high on all of the beta endorphin and the oxytocin. Um, I I want to kind of stress that maybe if the birth you wanted a water birth and you couldn't, it was too quick, you couldn't get in the pool, or for some reason you couldn't get in the water, or you had to get out, or
Yeah.
there are so many reasons. You could still do it later. You could still
What
hire a
on
pool. Yeah. You can still 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 years later get a pool, fill it up, get in it, and enact a cuddle in the water together.
Mhm. It's
These
really
are,
interesting because Rome was born in a proper water birthing pool, Forrest in the bathtub and admissions. Woo!
yay.
And in the proper
Like
birthing
an
pool,
actual bath, like an ensuite
actual
bath.
bathtub. Yeah, I was kind of squatting, actual bathtub. He was technically the first water baby at Airedale before they were doing water births. And I had a really cool midwife. And by the time Rome came along, proper birthing pool, and it was much more, they were intervening much more, but I was like, leave me alone. Just
Yeah,
done this 18 months ago. And
yeah,
so she said, get out of the pool. And I said, no, no. No.
yeah.
Like, were you going to argue with a pregnant woman in labor? I don't think so.
Because I mean, it feels amazing.
Mhm.
So for anyone who doesn't know what it feels like, when you go swimming and you get out of the pool and you feel gravity come back, like you feel your weight come back to your body as you climb up the ladder out of the pool, right? That's kind of it's the opposite occurs when you get in and you're pregnant or you're in labor. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
weightlessness-ish almost.
And
Um,
your tissue softened, so no ripping, no tearing, well, at
it's
least for
much
me,
softer and slower.
uh,
Yeah. And it's more hands off. Your personal space is less prone to intervention in other people's hands. In fact, I've a really good friend who introduced me to my husband, who had water birth, and she recounts a story of a midwife touching her on her butt, and she just turned around and went, "Touch me again, and I'll bite you." Because there was no, "Is it okay?" There was no
yeah.
permission
Yeah,
granted. Like, I'm not just gonna reach out and touch your butt. I can't do that.
yeah.
That's just weird.
Yeah.
Just because you're naked and in labor doesn't mean anyone can touch you without permission.
No,
This is
I know.
huge. And if a
Um,
woman hasn't learned that by the time she's giving birth, it's
Boundaries start really early in life, and there's so many people without clear boundaries and so many different levels of that, but it starts right there. So talk about what happens if there's separation not in a proper way, because we all do have to separate
mm,
at some point in time. Well, physically we separate, but then talk about that, the impact of separation, of this birth separation.
it's massive. Um, and it's sad in a way because we dream of these hugs with our freshborns and we want that closeness. But what if it can't happen?
Mm.
And the same, with baby's other parent, what happens? And midwives can help bridge that gap. A doula can help to soothe you. And ultimately, I think it all boils down to the dark and the light, the pain and the joy that you go through in this journey, from physically, part of you is coming out and it is a new being. And then there's a very gradual separation that lasts for about 18 years, right? Or
Mhm.
longer. It's not instantaneous. There's so many schools of thought that have corrupted it. There was a horrible Dr. Spock, who I think originated in the North America as well, probably the US. But
I
I'd need to
mean,
look it up.
that was the baby book, the only one for
Oh,
years and
he
years and
just
years.
he just wanted women back in bed with their husbands, and he advocated putting babies in a nursery on their own. And then this concept that this little mammal is going to sleep away from its mother. Babies can't regulate their temperature. The fact that you're next to your baby breathing in and out on them helps their breathing, and so it lowers the risk of cot death. So
Wow.
these bits of information for me were really important. We chose to um, co-sleep because I didn't know how else to do it. My
Yes,
babies were breastfed.
we did
Um,
too. I think we got more sleep than any new parent couple because, baby there, just drag it over,
yeah.
breastfeed, throw it
Mm,
back over there. We
mm.
slept, and it was a huge thing. Do you know about the book, The Continuum Concept?
It
It's an
rings a bell. I haven't read it for a
old
long
book, and this
time.
anthropologist goes into the jungle to see how this tribe works with their kids. And the mothers would sleep with their babies for the first 2 years, breastfeeding. It was also their natural birth control. And
Yeah,
then the baby would go and sleep with either dad or another relative so that they could then create the
the
brother or
next.
sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens. And not people don't talk about it. They don't say anything because they're worried about being judged. There's nothing strange about it. The majority of parents on the planet sleep with their babies. There are
Oh,
safety rules.
really?
Yes, especially in well, if we sort of discount sort of
Oh,
Western
on the
Europe,
planet, you said. Yes,
on the
yes, on
whole
the planet.
planet,
Yes, not in
Western
the Western
Europe, North
world.
America, everywhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Um, and it's very gradual. So this separation, it takes time. And what we don't want to do is get into neglecting the needs of the kid. Temporarily, you may need to meet your own needs first, because as a parent, as a mother, you need to do that. Um, and that was a big shift for me because I was putting myself in second position and not putting my needs first. And I still do it. It's still a constant battle. And it's about balancing rather than there being a perfect balance between work, marriage, motherhood. It's balancing. Occasionally there's a sweet spot, right, Shannon? There's one, day we're like, wow, it's so cool.
There
Everything's just
absolutely is. I mean, I remember when Rome came with the first baby, when the baby sleeps, you can sleep. So that's easier. But with the second baby, I think we even hired somebody to come in and look after him just so that I could sleep because I had a toddler running around also. It's really absolutely fascinating, the impact of separation, not just for the mother, but for the baby as well, and how important it is to create some kind of bond with that baby as early as possible.
Mm.
Um, and then to keep that bond going. And if you know these things, even if it doesn't happen in a natural way, you can make up for it in other ways, right? So we're going to take another short break here. And when we come back, Sophie is going to lead us through a beautiful breathing exercise. This is the M-braining thing, and she'll explain all about that. So even if you're not pregnant, but I did this with her the other day, and it was really very lovely. It's very centering and very gentle and sweet. So stick with us, and we'll see you in 3 minutes. Hi, welcome back after the break. Shannon O'Flaherty here, interviewing the lovely Sophie Kirkham, and we're talking all about birth and separation from birth. And Sophie, why don't you tell everybody what it is, what happens when somebody says, "Oh, I think I need a doula," or maybe they don't even know that they need a doula. So tell people what you do and how what you offer and how to reach you.
Okay, so they might start to panic about birthing. They might be really scared. They may just feel like this is a mountain moment in life, and it's better not to just wing it. And this is one that you can learn techniques to cope with, and to have somebody alongside. I feel like I'm your wing woman. I've got your back. Literally, I will massage it. I will anoint you with oils. I will make you comfortable. I will feed you. I will treat you like the god that you are.
Wow,
Because
I
you're
would have
bringing,
loved that. I didn't have it.
yeah, you're bringing life
Wow.
into the world. It's the only way for humans to get on the planet, through a woman.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
yeah, pause for reverence.
Yeah.
And I would
You
work with
offer a course or something or a process.
I have an online course, a hypnobirthing course with Sophie Kirkham. So you can Google that. It's on the learning platform Thinkific. It's also linked on my website, languageofchange.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Calm Sophie. You can work with me one-to-one for coaching. So I trained in various modalities: clean language, systemic modeling, ILM coaching level 7, and multiple brain integration technique, M-braining.
That's
And
what we're doing now. Yeah.
that's what we're doing
Yeah.
next. Okay. So we practiced this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Shannon, hopefully you had a lovely balanced state in and
Cannot
after.
help.
Still. Um, when you go, oh, multiple brains, what are you talking about? Well, neurons that transmit information throughout the body, the kind that you have in your brain, also you have in your heart, you have in your gut, you have in your pelvic organs.
Yeah.
And so those intelligences all contribute to your personal wisdoming, your personal human becoming. And balanced breathing is a way of balancing your autonomic nervous system, so that you're not too hyper and stressed out and you're not too laid back either. It's about bringing a lovely, balanced, cohesive, coherent state from which, if I'm coaching you, we do this at the start, you can interact with your true and innermost feelings rather than being stuck in your head all the time. You can gather and glean the information from your heart and your gut and your pelvic region. So what I want you to do to begin with is we're gonna breathe in a balanced breath. It means it's the same length in and out. You're going to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Don't blow a candle out, like it's
Yeah.
just gentle breath, like you're sleep breathing. Okay.
Let's have, if you need to have some water, just have a little bit of water before you do any kind of exercise or meditation. You always want to make sure that you're hydrated. So have a little water.
have a little water. Make sure you're sitting or resting comfortably. If you're laying down, see if you can get that balance in your corporal self, in your body. Your bottom bones 50-50, weight either side, balanced.
Uncross your legs. Yeah.
Uncross your legs, wriggle your toes. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start. Just bring your shoulders up, breathe in. Let's go. I'm going to count your breath. Breathe in through your nose. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. 6 and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep going. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're comfortable doing that. Keep going with that slow breath in. 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep breathing, balanced breathing. Remember, breathe from your diaphragm, your belly, your chest, and the top of your lungs. I'd like you to place your right hand over your heart. And as you do that, you want to just have a felt sense of getting out of your head and just notice what happens when you put your hand over your heart. Is there like a gladdening of your heart? Does your heart happily go, hey, hi, I want to talk with you? And as you connect with your heart, I want you to thank your heart so much for all of its insight, for the love, for the happiness. And as you're balancing your breathing and connecting in that chest area, in your heart, we give thanks and gratitude and praise to your heart. And on your next inhale, we're going to move up to your head. And now you bring your attention up to your head brain, continuing your balanced breathing in a deep and relaxed manner. There are changes in your mental and emotional state. And isn't it wonderful to just go within? 2 more breaths here. And you thank your brain and love your brain for all the ideas, all the thoughts. Up to 70,000 thoughts a day. Perhaps we need to connect back down now with our hearts. Bring your hand back down to your heart. Your feelings are connected. You're influencing your physiology and balancing your physical state, which in turn influences your thinking in a loop. Enjoy those balanced breaths as you bring your hand down onto your belly, over your navel, over your belly button. This process of connecting now with your gut intelligence. There are fewer neurons in your gut than in your head brain, but there are still plenty there. And dear gut intelligence, thank you so much for the insight, for the courage to push through fear. And just let your gut know that you are going to be more in tune and pay more attention to the messages it sends you, which are slower sometimes. It's worth connecting just like you are doing right now. Doesn't it feel lovely to bring your attention there? And as you just bring your hands down onto the top of your pelvis now, so hand either side onto the top of your pelvis as you connect with your pelvic intelligence. So the pelvic organs that communicate not only back up with the head, but there's a loop between the gut brain and the pelvic organs. And thank your pelvic organs for the inspiration. They are the seat of power and inspiration. When we say we've got a fire under us to be ready to go, comes from this. Allow this connection with your pelvic area. Allow your gratitude as you now, in a wonderfully balanced state, once again place your hand over your heart. The relationship between your heart, your head, your gut, your pelvic intelligence, your autonomic nervous system, in fact, your whole mind, body. And in this state right now, I want to let you know that truth and trust, courage are all available to you in healing whatever kind of birth experience you need to. You deserve a loved life and you can heal that experience. And with your attention and your awareness coming slightly out of yourself and back into this virtual space with me and Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Woo, I feel really good. That's a beautiful centering exercise. I hope you all felt that too. And Sophie, tell us where we can reach you again.
thelanguageofchange.com.
Languageofchange.com, languageofchange.com, and I'm at shannonoflaherty.com or shannonbtb.com. If you are pregnant or thinking of being pregnant or about to have a baby, get in touch with Sophie because she's going to be your girl. I wish I had had that. I was very blessed, very lucky. And I'm sure that Sophie will come on again sometime in the future because this is such a big subject and we want everybody to be born properly because all of our birth imprints, all the work that I'm doing is the emotional default programming and imprints from the time that you're in utero, before that, when you were coming out of your mother, when your mother was coming out of your
grandmother.
grandmother.
Yeah.
All of the ancestors set that path for us coming here. And we, as women, have the chance and the opportunity to break the chain from the past default programming that we're caught up in. And even if you've already given birth and it was horrific and all of that, a little bit of awareness goes a long way. And if you do the work to heal yourself, this transfers out to your ancestors who have already passed and to your forebears who are coming and to your children. Like everybody heals. When you do the work, everybody around you in your main circle heals. Sophie, if there's one quick takeaway in a quick little half a minute, one quick takeaway.
Connect with your heart inside yourself and trust in your own deep wisdom, because that's where your maternal instinct is derived from.
Yeah. And we have it. And it's that women's sixth sense intuition. That's not just made up la la stuff. That is real. And so tune in, and not just about having babies, but about everything. Trust your gut, trust your heart, trust your brain, trust your connection, trust your centering and your grounding, and be the best version of you that you can be. And start to do the work because we have the whole rest of our lives to be as happy as we can possibly be. Sophie, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been such a pleasure and honor speaking to you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, Shannon, for the invitation. We'll see you another time.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, everybody. Lots of love. See you next time.
Okay.
You have been listening to Beyond Birth Trauma, From Burden to Brilliance with Shannon O'Flaherty on Transformation Talk Radio. On the second Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, we connect the dots between your ancestors, your birth, and the patterns that keep you stuck, guiding you to a place of profound healing and unstoppable brilliance. By examining and healing your cellular imprint from birth of how you perceive and respond to the world and the challenges that are created in your day-to-day life, we can begin to heal and live more balanced and fulfilling lives. For more information, visit shannonbtb.com. That's shannonbtb.com.